Ethereum's business model makes billions. Here's how it works. So I'm sitting there looking at my brokerage account. I've got Bitcoin, and right next to it, I've got Ethereum. And I'm thinking, why is ETH cheaper than Bitcoin? Like, is it just newer? Is it a worse version? Is it a completely different thing? I genuinely didn't know. I'd heard the word blockchain, I'd heard smart contracts, but what I couldn't answer, what nobody around me could really answer, was, what does Ethereum actually do? And how does it make money? So I went and figured it out. And what I found is that comparing ETH to Bitcoin on price is like comparing a city to a safe deposit box. They're not even the same kind of thing. Bitcoin does one thing. Ethereum runs an entire economy. Trillions of dollars in trading volume, loans, stable coins, digital contracts, all of it flowing through a protocol that nobody owns, nobody controls, and nobody can shut down. That's the story I want to tell today. Not is ETH cheap right now, the actual business underneath it, how it generates revenue, who gets paid, and what the real risks are. If you watch the Bitcoin video, here's the key thing to hold on to as we get into Ethereum. Bitcoin is digital gold. Its job is to be scarce, valuable, and hard to counterfeit. That's it. The network exists to protect and transfer that value. Ethereum is different. Ethereum is digital infrastructure. Think of it this way. Bitcoin is a safe deposit box. Ethereum is a city. The city has its own currency, Ether or ETH. But what makes the city valuable isn't the currency. It's everything being built on top of it. Banks, exchanges, contracts, applications, all of it running on the same shared foundation without any company owning it. If you've heard terms like DeFi, NFTs, stablecoins, or Web3, almost all of it lives on Ethereum, not because Ethereum invented those ideas, but because it built the infrastructure first, and network effects are hard to beat. So the question I want to answer today is, who pays for all of this? Where does the money actually flow? And what does that mean for people who hold ETH? Let's get into it. Here's the cleanest way I can explain Ethereum. You know how apps live on servers? When you use Instagram, you're connecting to Instagram's servers. Meta owns those servers. Meta can ban your account, change the algorithm, shut the whole thing down if they want to. You're using their infrastructure on their terms. Ethereum is an attempt to build infrastructure that nobody owns. Instead of one company's servers, you have thousands of computers around the world, called nodes, all running the same software. When a developer deploys a program onto Ethereum, it doesn't live on any one server. It lives on all of them simultaneously. That program is called a smart contract. Smart contract is honestly a confusing name. It's not really a contract in the legal sense, and it's not artificially intelligent. It's just code that lives on a blockchain and runs automatically when certain conditions are met. Here's a simple example. Imagine I want to bet you $100 that the Miami Heat make the playoffs. Normally, we'd need to trust each other or use a third party to hold the money. With a smart contract, we each send $200 to the contract. When the season ends, the contract checks the official result on-chain and automatically sends $200 to whoever won. No trust required. No intermediary. The code executes exactly as written. That's the idea, but scale it up. Now imagine that same logic applied to loans. Borrow automatically against collateral without a bank. Exchanges, trade tokens directly without Coinbase in the middle. Insurance, claims that pay out automatically when conditions are verified. Stablecoins, digital dollars that maintain their peg through algorithms. All of that is running on Ethereum right now. Thousands of applications, billions of dollars in transactions, nobody in charge of any of it. Here's where it starts getting interesting from a business perspective. Every time someone uses Ethereum, every transaction, every smart contract execution, they pay a fee. That fee is called gas. Why gas? Because running operations on Ethereum is like running a car. Simple transactions use a little fuel. Complex smart contract interactions, like trading on a DeFi exchange or minting an NFT collection, use more. Gas is priced in a tiny unit of ETH called WA. When the network is busy, gas prices go up. When it's quiet, they come down. It's a real-time market for computational resources. This is completely different from Bitcoin's fee model, by the way. Bitcoin fees are simple, just a charge for including your transaction in the next block. Ethereum's fees are dynamic and tied to how much computation your action requires. Here's a concrete example of what that actually looks like. Say you want to swap $500 worth of one token for another using a DeFi app. That swap involves your wallet talking to a smart contract, the contract checking prices, routing your trade, updating balances, and logging everything permanently to the blockchain. That's a lot of steps, and each step costs gas. On a quiet day, that whole swap might run you under $1. During a bull market, when everyone is piling in at the same time and the network is congested, the same swap could cost you $30, $50, sometimes more. Not because anyone is gouging you, because block space is limited and you're bidding against every other user who wants in right now. That fee volatility is actually one of Ethereum's real unsolved problems, and we'll get to it. But the point right now is simpler. Every single one of those fees, paid by every single user, every single day, is the raw material of Ethereum's entire economic model. Where that money goes is the whole story. And what happens to those fees? That's where Ethereum's business model gets really unusual. When I say Ethereum has a business model, I mean it in the same way I'd say Google has a business model. There's real economic activity, real fees being paid, real incentives keeping the system running. But unlike Google, the revenue doesn't go to a company. It flows through the protocol itself, to validators, to token holders, and in a genuinely novel move, some of it just gets destroyed. Let me break down all three. In 2021, Ethereum introduced something called EIP 1559. This is a critical moment in Ethereum's financial history, and almost nobody outside the ecosystem knows it happened. Before EIP 1559, all gas fees went to miners, like Bitcoin. After EIP 1559, the system split. Every transaction now has two parts: a base fee that gets permanently destroyed, burned, and a tip that goes to the validator. Let that sink in. Every time someone uses Ethereum, sends a token, swaps on Uniswap, buys an NFT, a portion of the ETH they pay gets removed from circulation forever. Now here's the nuance that most explainers skip. This doesn't mean Ethereum's supply is constantly shrinking. Ethereum also issues new ETH as rewards to validators who secure the network. During high activity periods, bull markets, NFT booms, more ETH gets burned than issued, making it deflationary. During quieter periods, issuance outpaces the burn. The result is that ETH's annual inflation rate sits around 0.8% compared to roughly 3.5% under the old mining system. Whether growing demand eventually tips the balance into sustained deflation is the key question the market is still answering. What we can say for certain, to date, over 4.6 million ETH has been burned, worth more than $13 billion, removed from existence not by a central bank, not by a board decision, but automatically by the protocol, one transaction at a time. So who actually keeps the Ethereum network running? Because in September 2022, specifically September 15th, they made a massive change, switching from proof of work to proof of stake. This was called the merge, and it was one of the most technically complex upgrades in blockchain history. Here's what changed. Bitcoin uses miners, specialized computers solving math problems. That consumes enormous amounts of energy. Ethereum used to do this too. Proof of stake replaces that with validators. Instead of spending electricity to secure the network, validators lock up, stake, 32 ETH as collateral. They're chosen to validate blocks proportionally to how much they've staked. Get chosen, do the job, earn a reward. Try to cheat and your staked ETH gets destroyed, a penalty called slashing. The energy reduction was staggering. Ethereum's electricity consumption dropped by over 99.95% overnight. The same network, a fraction of the environmental footprint. From a business perspective, validators earn yield on their staked ETH, currently in the range of 3 to 4% annually, though this varies with network activity. With about 30 million ETH staked right now, that's roughly $1 billion a year being distributed to the people who secure the network. Here's the interesting part for regular people. You don't have to run a validator yourself. Services like Lido and Coinbase let you pool your ETH with others and earn staking rewards without the technical overhead. It's essentially a savings account, except the bank is a decentralized protocol. The third revenue stream is the one that makes Ethereum genuinely unique as a financial model. Bitcoin is a network, Ethereum is a platform, and just like iOS and Android, Ethereum makes money from everything built on top of it, because everything built on top of it pays gas fees that flow back into the protocol. Let me give you some scale. Uniswap, the largest decentralized exchange, has processed trillions of dollars in trading volume since launching. Every one of those trades paid gas to the Ethereum network. Tether, the biggest stablecoin, runs primarily on Ethereum. Every time someone moves USDT, billions of dollars a day, they pay gas. OpenSea, during the NFT boom, was doing $3 billion a month in volume on Ethereum, paying gas. The apps don't share revenue with Ethereum the way apps share revenue with Apple, but they don't have to, because every interaction they facilitate is a transaction on the Ethereum blockchain, and every transaction pays gas. This is the real genius of the model. Ethereum built a city. The city collected rent, not from buildings, but from every piece of economic activity that happens inside it. Here's a number to put this in context. In Q4 2021 alone, at the height of the DeFi and NFT boom, Ethereum generated $4.3 billion in a single quarter in gas fees. That's a run rate comparable to a mid-sized S&P 500 company, except there's no CEO, no headquarters, no shareholder earnings report. Okay, so I just walked you through why Ethereum's business model is genuinely interesting, but I'd be doing you a disservice if I stopped there, because Ethereum has real problems too, and they're worth understanding. Ethereum has a scaling problem. When the network gets busy, gas fees can spike to $50, $100, even more per transaction. That's not a payments network, that's a luxury service. The solution the ecosystem settled on is Layer 2s. These are separate networks, like Arbitrum, Optimism, and Base, that process transactions off the main Ethereum chain and then post a summary back to it. Cheaper, faster, still secured by Ethereum underneath. The catch? L2s pay much less in gas fees to the main chain than Layer 1 transactions do. So, as more activity migrates to L2s, which is the intended roadmap, Ethereum's mainnet fee revenue shrinks. This is an active debate in the Ethereum community. Has Ethereum solved scalability by outsourcing economic activity to L2s? Or has it accidentally handed its revenue streams to third-party networks it doesn't control? Ethereum also has real competition now in a way it didn't 3 years ago. Solana has been the biggest challenger. It's faster and dramatically cheaper than Ethereum mainnet. Transactions that cost $50 on Ethereum cost fractions of a cent on Solana. It's gained serious developer traction, especially in consumer crypto and gaming. The counter-argument is that Ethereum has the network effects, the developer talent, the institutional trust, the most mature DeFi ecosystem. Solana is faster, but Ethereum is deeper. Who wins long-term? Honestly, unclear. But this is not a solved question, and anyone telling you it is probably has a financial position they're not disclosing. Here's the thorny one. All of the business model stuff I just described, gas fees, burning, staking yield, it only matters to you financially if you hold ETH. ETH has dramatically underperformed Bitcoin over the past 2 years. Bitcoin got its ETF approval and massive institutional inflows. Ethereum's ETFs launched, but saw far less capital come in. Is ETH undervalued because the fundamentals are strong, but the narrative hasn't caught up? Or is Bitcoin's simplicity genuinely a competitive advantage? Easier to explain, easier to hold, easier to get institutional buy-in? I don't have a clean answer. But those are the right questions to be asking. So here's where I actually land. I hold both Bitcoin and ETH. Bitcoin is a bigger position, more confident in it. ETH for me is a bigger bet, which isn't the same as saying it's a bad bet. It just means the uncertainty is higher, and I own it that way. The thing that keeps pulling me back isn't the burn mechanism or the staking yield. It's the app layer. Trillions of dollars in volume flowing through a protocol that nobody owns. No CEO taking a cut. No board setting the rules. Just code. Running. Collecting fees. Burning a portion of them. Distributing the rest. Automatically. Forever. I've been in Salesforce consulting for years. I understand what it means to build on top of someone else's platform, and what it costs. Ethereum flips that model. The platform collects fees, but nobody owns the platform. The fee revenue doesn't go to a company, it goes back into the system. That's genuinely new. Now, does that mean ETH, the token, is a guaranteed winner? No. The L2 migration is real. The Solana competition is real. ETH underperforming Bitcoin for 2 straight years is real. I'm not here to talk you into anything. What I will say is this: when I look at the dollar volume moving through Ethereum's ecosystem, through Uniswap, through Tether, through all the DeFi protocols, and I compare that to what a traditional financial company would be worth if it processed that volume, the numbers are hard to ignore. The question, the one I don't have a clean answer to, is whether ETH, the token, actually captures that value, and that's what I'll be watching. Next week, we're going inside DeFi, decentralized finance, specifically Uniswap, a protocol that built a multi-trillion-dollar trading platform, charges users to use it, and then does something with those fees that no traditional exchange would ever do. If you want to understand the business side of crypto, not the hype, not the price predictions, this channel is for you.